The office was full. Everyone was gathered around the long glass table. Tension hung heavy in the air. At the head of the room, Mr. Faraz leaned back in his leather chair, his suit sharp, his expression sharper. He glanced toward the janitor, standing at the corner, aged, humble, in a faded uniform with a name tag that read Imran. His hands were rough from years of cleaning floors no one cared to walk gently on. Faraz stood slowly, adjusted his tie, and picked up a paper from the table. "This," he said loudly, holding it up, "is why this company is bleeding money." He slammed the paper down. "Stolen cleaning supplies, missing maintenance funds. Guess who's responsible?" The room went quiet. Imran looked up, confused. "Sir, what?" Faraz walked toward him with a cold smile. "Don't play dumb, old man. You think nobody notices how much time you spend in the storage room? We did a little digging. I clean. I fix the lights. I stay late. I don't steal," Imran said, his voice trembling. "Oh, really?" Faraz laughed. "You live in a one-room flat and come here in worn-out shoes. Suddenly your daughter is in a good school? Where's the money coming from, huh?" Imran swallowed hard. "I saved. I skipped meals. I worked extra hours. I never took anything." Faraz turned to the others. "Do you believe this guy?" Some of them looked away. A few smirked. He stepped closer, now face to face. "You're nothing here. You've always been nothing. You think your loyalty means anything to people like me? Let me show you how much it's worth." He yanked Imran's badge off his chest and tossed it to the floor. "You're fired," he said sharply. "Security, get this man out of my office." Imran stood frozen. His eyes welled with tears, but he didn't speak. 10 years. He had scrubbed. This company cleaned through storms, holidays, weekends. Never once asked for a raise, never took a day off. He looked around. No one stood up for him. Not even the HR lady who used to bring him tea on winter mornings. Security guards stepped in. One of them hesitated. He knew Imran well, but a glare from Faraz made him move. They took Imran by the arm, gently but firmly. He didn't fight back. He just picked up his toolbox, held his head high, and walked out without saying a word. The doors closed behind him. The room stayed silent. Faraz smirked, straightened his cuffs, and turned back to the table. "Now let's talk real business." But outside those doors, something changed. Imran didn't cry, he didn't shout. He looked at the building one last time, then walked away, not like a broken man, but like someone who had just seen the truth. Something had snapped inside him, not in anger, but in clarity. And one day, Faraz would regret the way he threw away the most loyal man in that entire building. The days after Imran's firing felt like falling into a deep, endless hole. First came the shame. Neighbors whispered. People he had known for years avoided eye contact. Some even believed the lies that he had stolen from the company. The worst part was that he couldn't prove anything. Faraz was powerful, and once he labeled someone a thief. The world believed him. The school called next. His daughter, Noor, was no longer eligible for her scholarship, not because she had failed. She was brilliant, but because her father's reputation had become a concern. Imran begged the principal to reconsider. He even offered to clean the school after hours, but the man simply said, "We can't take risks, Mr. Imran. I hope you understand." Then came the eviction notice. He had used up all his savings paying for Noor's books and school uniform. He couldn't pay rent. One evening, he came home to find their small room padlocked, his daughter sitting outside with her school bag, her eyes red but silent. That night, they slept on a park bench. Noor didn't cry. She rested her head on her father's shoulder and whispered, "It's okay, Baba. We're together." Imran didn't sleep. His stomach was empty, but the ache in his chest was louder. He tried to find work. He knocked on every door. Shops, small companies, tea stalls. But word had spread. No one wanted to hire a man accused of theft. Friends, they vanished, one by one. Some made excuses. Some stopped answering calls. One man, whom Imran had helped during his mother's illness, said, "I can't be seen helping someone with a reputation like yours." Days turned into weeks. Noor became thinner. Imran started skipping meals completely just to feed her. They moved from park benches to temporary shelters. Rain leaked through the roofs. Nights were cold, but still, Imran didn't give up. Each evening, when Noor fell asleep, Imran sat under a streetlight with torn pages of old business books he found at a library trash bin. He didn't understand everything at first, but slowly he began to learn. He read about startups, investments, online sales, digital marketing. He didn't have a laptop, but he used the library computer during public hours. He watched videos, took free online classes, wrote notes in a small pocket diary. He started noticing patterns, what made a business grow, what made people trust a brand. how companies failed because of leaders like Faraz. During the day, he sold small things on the street, pens, keychains, socks, whatever he could find wholesale for cheap. He stood outside offices and tried to make people smile when they passed. Some ignored him. Some threw insults. A few, just a few, offered small kindnesses. One man bought a pair of socks and stayed to talk. He was an old shopkeeper named Shakir. When he heard Imran's story, he said nothing at first. The next day, he gave Imran a place to sleep, in a small storeroom behind his shop. It wasn't much, but it was dry and safe. In return, Imran cleaned the shop, managed the cash register, and helped restock shelves. He never complained, never demanded anything, but every night, he kept studying. Shakir noticed. "You're learning all this for what?" he asked one evening. Imran looked up, his eyes steady. "So that no one can ever take everything from me again." Something shifted that night. Shakir introduced him to a younger cousin who ran a small online business. The cousin let Imran help with packaging and deliveries, then inventory, then client emails. Bit by bit, Imran learned how an online store worked. He didn't talk much, didn't tell anyone about Faraz or the humiliation. He just worked, quietly, steadily. Faraz, meanwhile, was thriving. News articles praised his leadership. The company was making record profits. He appeared on TV, gave motivational talks, posted online about success and hard work, as if he had built everything alone. Imran saw it all. Each post, each speech, each headline, but he didn't react. Not anymore. Something stronger than anger had taken root inside him. Focus. Months passed. Noor returned to school thanks to a local sponsor Shakir had convinced. Imran had saved just enough to buy a second-hand phone. He used it not for selfies or social media, but to research, message suppliers, and network with small businesses. Then one day, he saw an ad for a failing cleaning supply company looking for a silent investor. The price was low, too low. The owner had no idea how to handle modern business. Imran had saved some money, not much, but just enough to make a start. Shakir added a little more, saying, "It's time the world saw you not as a janitor, but as a builder." Imran bought in, quietly. His name wasn't even listed yet. He didn't care. What mattered was that he finally had a seat, no matter how small, at the table. And Faraz, he still had no idea that the man he threw away like trash was slowly, silently building something real. Something that would one day stand taller than anything Faraz had ever touched. Imran still walked with his head down in public, still wore old clothes, still smiled humbly at strangers, but behind those quiet eyes a storm was forming. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was preparing. Imran had always believed in patience, not the kind that waited and wished, but the kind that worked, built, and waited for the right moment to strike. He no longer needed validation. He didn't want headlines or applause. All he wanted was quiet progress, and he got it. The cleaning supply company he bought into had been on the edge of collapse. The owner had no vision, no strategy, and no understanding of digital tools. Imran spent sleepless nights rebuilding its entire system, branding, customer service, marketing. Within months, orders doubled, then tripled. He studied customer patterns. He created an online portal that made corporate bulk orders easier. He even designed eco-friendly packaging that caught the attention of local offices wanting to go green. And when the owner finally stepped aside saying, "You're the one keeping this alive now," Imran took over completely. Not loudly, not legally yet, but in every way that mattered, he was the one running the show. With Shakir's nephew's help, Imran began importing quality products directly. Then he started supplying them to medium-sized companies, the very kind Faraz's company once overlooked. He noticed something strange. Many of the businesses Faraz's company ignored were frustrated. Delayed shipments, cold customer service, high prices. Imran offered the opposite: reliability, respect, and fair rates. They started switching. Imran didn't approach them with his name. He used the company name Sapphire Hygiene. No one knew who was behind it, and he liked it that way. Noor, now older, helped him with the design side. She created sleek brochures, website banners, and professional emails. She didn't know the full story yet, but she knew her father was working towards something big. Soon, Sapphire began receiving offers from hospitals, hotels, even government contracts, all small at first but steadily growing. And Faraz, still shining on magazine covers, still giving TED-style talks about leadership, still mocking competition without even knowing what was coming, until one day, during a routine meeting, his assistant hesitantly slid a file across the desk. "Sir, we've lost 3 major contracts in the last quarter, all to the same vendor." Faraz raised an eyebrow. "What vendor?" "Sapphire Hygiene." He laughed. What kind of name is that? Some side hustle selling mop heads? The assistant didn't respond. Faraz waved it off. Whatever, get those clients back. But it wasn't that simple. One by one, the cracks appeared. Small suppliers stopped responding to his team's calls. Vendors began demanding fairer contracts. Employees started whispering about a better-run company with faster turnarounds and ethical practices. Still, Faraz didn't panic until he attended a private event for business leaders. It was a quiet launch, a celebration for a new supplier who had revolutionized local distribution chains. Sapphire Hygiene was the talk of the room. Faraz didn't even recognize the man who stood quietly at the back of the room, watching everything, dressed in a simple blazer, a soft smile on his face. Imran stood near the exit, not seeking attention, just observing. Their eyes didn't meet, not yet. Over the next 6 months, Faraz's company lost 4 more clients. One board member stepped down, then another. He finally ordered a full report, and there it was. Page after page of data showing Sapphire's rise, how their customer service had higher ratings, how their delivery system was more reliable, how their pricing undercut his own. At the very end of the file was a single sheet. Founder, Imran Khalid. Faraz stared at the name for a long time. A memory came rushing back, the office, the accusation, the thrown badge, the humiliated man walking away while everyone watched. He slammed the file shut. No, impossible. But it was true. Imran never reached out, never made a call, never showed up to gloat. He didn't need to. Faraz began to feel it every day, in the tension of his meetings, the rumors around his office, the calls from old partners saying, "We've decided to go a different direction." Imran, meanwhile, kept moving forward. He opened a second warehouse, trained staff personally, introduced health insurance for all workers, even opened a small scholarship fund in his daughter's name for underprivileged kids. His story was never published. No press interviews, no rags to riches tales. He didn't want fame. He wanted justice. Quiet, calculated, and clean. He was no longer the man who slept on park benches or knocked on doors for mercy. He had built something from ashes. And every day that Faraz's world grew smaller, Imran's grew stronger. The power shift had begun, but the real reckoning was still to come. Faraz's hands shook as he stared at the latest financial report. Red lines, client losses, investor withdrawals, staff resignations. Sapphire Hygiene wasn't just taking clients, it was bleeding his empire dry. Slowly, silently, methodically. He still remembered the moment he read the founder's name, Imran Khalid. How could he forget the man he humiliated in front of his entire staff? The man whose badge he threw on the ground like trash. The man who stood in silence, broken, but didn't beg. Now, that same man had turned into a ghost that haunted every meeting, every deal, every decision. Clients left without a word. Partners hesitated to renew contracts. Even his most loyal allies were losing faith. Faraz tried damage control. He called meetings, cut prices, fired employees he thought were leaking information, but none of it worked. The tide had turned. Then came the final blow. His largest corporate client, one who accounted for nearly 40% of his revenue, announced they were terminating their contract. They had signed a long-term deal with Sapphire. Faraz demanded a meeting. "I want to meet the owner of Sapphire, face to face," he barked at his assistant. She looked nervous. He agreed. Faraz arrived at the hotel conference room in a suit that barely masked his desperation. He waited alone, pacing, breathing hard, and then the door opened. Imran stepped inside. He wore no tie, no watch, no bodyguards, just quiet confidence. For a moment, Faraz didn't speak. He just stared at him, almost in disbelief. Imran gave a slight nod. "You wanted to talk?" Faraz forced a smile, trying to stay composed. "Imran, it's been a long time." "Yes, 15 years. There was no anger in his voice, no arrogance, just calm. Faraz laughed nervously. "Look, whatever happened, back then it was business, you know how it is, pressure, stress." Imran didn't blink. "You accused me of stealing, publicly, with no proof." Faraz's smile faltered. "That's not what I meant. You took away my dignity, my income, my name. You made sure I couldn't get another job. You called me a thief in front of people who trusted me." Faraz looked down. "I made a mistake. I was wrong, but things have changed. You've built something incredible. You're obviously doing very well." Imran didn't move. "Why did you call me here, Faraz?" Faraz took a deep breath. "I need your help." Silence. "My company is falling apart. You've taken most of my clients. I don't even know how you did it. But I'm asking, no, I'm begging. Please, partner with me. Merge. Buy me out. Do something. I just can't go down like this." Imran stared at him. Faraz's voice cracked. "We were friends once, right?" Imran leaned forward, his voice still low and steady. Friends don't destroy each other. Faraz reached across the table, but Imran pulled back. I didn't come here to make peace, Imran said. I came to watch the fall. Faraz's eyes widened. You're really going to let everything I built fall apart? You built it on lies, on arrogance, on the backs of people you thought were beneath you. Faraz stood up now, desperate. You don't need revenge. You've already won. Imran finally smiled. This isn't revenge, Faraz, it's balance. As Imran turned to leave, he paused at the door. Oh, and one more thing. Faraz looked up, hope flashing in his eyes. I bought your office building. You'll need to vacate by the end of the month. Faraz's knees buckled. He dropped back into the chair, defeated. Imran walked away without looking back. No screaming, no threats, no gloating, just quiet power and justice. The same silence Faraz had once used to humiliate him now wrapped around the room like a noose. The king had fallen, and the man he tried to bury had risen, not to destroy him, but to show him who he really was without the throne. The boardroom was full just like it had been all those years ago, but this time the seats were different. This time, Imran sat at the head of the table, calm, confident, in control. The very same room where Faraz once humiliated him had now become the setting for his final reckoning. Faraz entered, no longer dressed in designer suits. His tie was crooked. His face carried the weight of sleepless nights and public embarrassment. News of his downfall had already spread. Newspapers called it the collapse of a corporate tyrant. Social media celebrated it as karma in its purest form. He took a hesitant step forward, but Imran didn't rise. Instead, he placed a single document on the table. This, Imran said, sliding it across, is the final transfer agreement. With this, you give up all remaining shares in your company, effective immediately. Faraz looked around the table. Former partners, lawyers, observers. No one spoke for him. No one stood with him. I still have options, he said, though even he didn't sound convinced. You had options, Imran replied, but you were too proud to see them. You didn't just lose money, Faraz. You lost respect. You burned every bridge. And now, you're standing in ashes. Faraz clenched his fists, eyes red. You wanted this from the start. No, Imran said. I wanted peace, but you forced war. You destroyed me because you could. Now I'm only showing you the mirror. Faraz picked up the pen with trembling hands. His signature landed shakily on the paper. The deal was done. Imran stood up, walked over to him, and in the same way Faraz once did, he reached into his pocket and pulled something out, a security badge. The one Faraz used to wear, now stripped of power. Imran dropped it onto the floor just like Faraz once did to him. Security, Imran said without turning. Please escort this man out. Faraz looked up, his mouth open like he wanted to say something, but no words came. He had nothing left, not power, not pride, not even pity. As he was led out of the room, the silence was deafening. It wasn't cruel, it wasn't loud, it was justice, quiet, complete, and long overdue. Outside, reporters were already waiting. Cameras flashed, questions flew, but Faraz kept his head down. There was no defense left, and inside, Imran sat back down, alone in victory, but not bitter. He didn't destroy Faraz. Faraz did it to himself. Imran simply watched the fall and made sure it echoed, full circle.